Now let's move to the second type of citation, which is referencing. It is also crucial for avoiding plagiarism and demonstrating that your work is authentic and credible. So let's dive into its rules and the essential elements you must include during the writing process. Let's start with a basic but crucial question. What is referencing? Take a look at the definition. Referencing is the systematic method of acknowledging the sources you have used in your academic work. Now, let's break that down. Systematic means it's not random. There is a set of rules, a consistent format. That's why we have styles like APA, MLA, Chicago, and so on. They give us a standard way to show where our information came from. Acknowledging is just a formal word for giving credit, so referencing is simply your way of saying this idea came from someone else and here's where you can find it. So, why does it matter? Look at the purpose listed below. 3 key reasons. First, to give credit. When you use someone else's words or ideas, you owe them credit. It's a matter of academic honesty, and it's also a sign of respect. You are showing that you have done your homework and that you are standing on the shoulders of other researchers. Second, to allow verification. If I read your paper and I'm curious about source you cited, I should be able to track it down easily. That's what the reference list does. It's like a map that lets your reader follow your research trail. It builds trust in your work. Third, to strengthen your arguments. This is the part students sometimes miss. Referencing isn't just about avoiding plagiarism. It actually makes your arguments stronger. When you cite credible research, you are showing your reader, I'm not just making this up. Experts support what I'm saying. Your argument becomes more persuasive because it's built on a foundation of solid evidence. Referencing is not a boring technical requirement. It's your way of joining a scholarly conversation. You are entering a community of researchers, and referencing is how you show where you stand, who you are building on, and how you are contributing something new. Then, let's talk about why we reference. It's easy to think of referencing as just a set of rules you have to follow to avoid losing points. But actually, referencing does several important things for your writing and for you as a scholar. Look at the table. Each rule gives a reason and a brief explanation. I will walk you through them. First, referencing is about giving credit where it's due. When you use another researcher's words, ideas, or data, you are building on their intellectual property. Acknowledging that is a matter of fairness and respect. It shows you are part of scholarly community that values honesty. Next, avoiding plagiarism is important. It is not the only reason to reference, but think of it this way. Referencing is how you draw a clear line between your own original ideas and the sources you have used. That transparency protects you from unintentional plagiarism and shows your reader exactly what you have contributed. Next, referencing builds your credibility. When you cite reputable sources, you are telling your reader, I didn't just make this up. Experts support this claim. Your argument becomes more persuasive because it's grounded in established research. Readers trust a writer who backs up their points with evidence. Then, referencing allows verification. If a reader wants to check a fact or explore a source you used, your citation gives them the roadmap to find it. This transparency strengthens the academic conversation and holds everyone accountable. Finally, referencing lets you join the conversation. Now, academic work happens in a vacuum. When you cite others, you are positioning yourself within a field of research. You show how your work relates to what already being said, whether you are agreeing, disagreeing, or building on it. That's what makes scholarship or dialogue, not just a series of isolated papers. Now that we know what referencing is and why it matters, let's talk about when you need to do it. This table gives you a simple guide. So let's look when we need reference. First, indirect quote from a source. Yes, you always need a reference. If you are using someone's exact words, you must put them in quotation marks or a block quote and include the citation with the page number or paragraph number for online sources, no exceptions. Then paraphrase of someone else's idea. Yes, even if you put the idea into your own words, it still comes from someone else. You still need to give credit with an author year citation. Then, summary of a source. Yes, when you condense a longer idea or a whole article into a sentence or two, you are still borrowing that content, so cite it. Then we have synthesis of multiple sources. Yes, here reference or you need reference. When you combine ideas from several sources to create a new insight, you are still relying on those sources. Each one needs to be cited either in one parenthetical or woven into your narrative. Then, your own original idea. No, you don't need reference. If you are stating something that comes entirely from your own thinking, your analysis, your conclusion, your original arguments, you do not need a citation. In fact, overciting your own ideas can make your paper look like it lacks original thoughts, and the goal is to balance your voice with support from research. Then the last point, common knowledge. You do not need reference. Common knowledge means facts that are widely known and can be found in many sources. For example, the sky is blue or water boils at 100 degrees Celsius at sea level. You don't need to cite this, but and this is important. What counts as common knowledge depends on your audience. In a specialized class, something that's common knowledge to the professor might not be common knowledge to you. When in doubt, cite it. Now, we are going to look at something a little bit different, which is bibliography. Up to now, we have been talking about APA style, which uses a reference list, a list of only the sources you actually cited in your paper. But in some disciplines or for certain assignments, your instructor may ask for a bibliography instead. Let's break down what that means. First, the definition. A bibliography is a list of all sources consulted during your research, whether you cited them in your essay or not. Notice the key difference from a reference list. A reference list includes only the sources you quoted, paraphrased, summarized, or synthesized. A bibliography is broader. It includes everything you read, even if you never directly mention it in your final paper. Let's look at the origin. It comes from Greek biblion, meaning book, and graphen, meaning to write. So literally, it means writing about books. That makes sense. A bibliography is a written record of the books and other materials you engaged with. Now, look at the table. It gives 4 characteristics that explain why a bibliography matters. First, a bibliography is comprehensive. It includes everything you read, not just what you cited. This gives your reader a full picture of your research process. Second, it acts as a research record. It shows the full scope of your investigation, how widely you read, what kinds of sources you explored, even if some didn't end up being directly quoted. It demonstrates thoroughness. Then third, a bibliography lists sources that informed your thinking, even if not quoted. Sometimes you read the whole book just to study concepts, and that background shapes your argument, even if you never directly cited that book. A bibliography captures that intellectual influence. Then, fourth and finally, additional materials. It may include sources you consulted but did not directly reference. That could be books, articles, websites, interviews, anything that shaped your understanding. Why does this matter? You might be wondering, why would I include sources I didn't even cite? The answer is that a bibliography shows your instructor or reader the depth of your research. It says, I didn't just grab the first three articles I found, I explored the field, I considered multiple perspectives, and I came to my arguments after a thorough investigation that builds even more credibility. So, when should you use a bibliography? In some humanity fields like history or literature, and for certain extended projects, a bibliography is expected. In APA style, you will usually use a reference list. Always check your assignment guidelines. Now, we just talked about what a bibliography is. A list of all the sources you consulted during your research, whether you cited them directly or not. Now, let's talk about what you should include one. Why you should include one. The table lays out for key purposes. First, a bibliography demonstrates research depth. When your instructor uses a bibliography that includes books, articles, and other sources beyond just the ones you quoted, it shows that you didn't just skim the surface. You explored the topic widely. It's evidence that you put in the work and considered multiple perspectives before forming your own argument. Second, it provides context. A bibliography reveals the intellectual background of your work. It shows your reader what ideas, debates, or frameworks influenced your thinking, even if you didn't cite every one directly. This helps your reader understand where your argument is coming from and what scholarly conversation you are entering. Third, a bibliography helps future researchers. If another student or scholar is working on a similar topic, your bibliography becomes a roadmap. It guides them to useful sources they might not have found on their own. This is one of the ways scholarship builds over time. We stand on each other's shoulders, and a bibliography is part of that legacy. Finally, a bibliography is about academic honesty. It acknowledges all the sources that influenced your whole thinking, even if you didn't quote them directly. Sometimes a single paragraph in your paper is shaped by a book you read once earlier. Including that source in your bibliography is a way of being transparent and giving credit where credit is due. A bibliography is more than just a list at the end of your paper. It's a reflection of your intellectual journey. It shows your reader that you research thoroughly, engaged with the material deeply, and are contributing honestly to the academic conversation. Now that we have covered both the reference list and the bibliography, let's put them side by side so you can clearly see the difference. This table gives you a quick comparison. Look at the first row. It shows content, what's included. So, a reference list includes only the sources you actually cited in your essay, every quote, every paraphrase, every summary, or every sentence. If you mention it in your paper, it's in the reference list. You should include it in the reference list. If you didn't, it is not. A bibliography, on the other hand, includes all the sources you read or consulted, even if you never directly cited them in your final paper. It's a broader record of your research. So, the key difference is scope. Reference list is narrow and precise. Bibliography is comprehensive and reflects your whole research journey. The second row shows users when to use each. Reference list is required for APA style, the style we have been focusing on. In APA, you only list what you have cited and you call it references. A bibliography is used more in Chicago or other styles, which are common in history, literature, and some humanities disciplines. In those styles, you will often be asked to include a bibliography that lists everything you consulted. So, why does this matter? It matters because your instructor will tell you which format they expect. If the assignment says APA style, you should provide a reference list, not a bibliography. If it says Chicago style, you will likely need a bibliography. Mixing them up could cost you points, so always check your guidelines and choose only one style. Now, we are going to get into the nitty-gritty of how to actually format your reference list in APA style. This isn't just about being picky. These rules help readers quickly find the information they need. Let's go through them one by one. First, the order. Your reference list must be alphabetical by the first author's last name. If a source has no author, you alphabetize by the first significant word of the title, ignoring a, an, or the. Ignoring the articles a, an, or the. Why alphabetical? Since it makes it easy for your reader to locate a source when you cite, for example, Smith 2020 in your paper, they can scan down the list and find Smith right away. Second, the format. APA uses hanging indent. That means the first line of each entry is flush left, and every subsequent line is indented, usually half an inch. You don't have to manually tap each line. Most word processors have a shortcut. In Microsoft Word, you can highlight your references, go to paragraph setting, and under indentation, select hanging. This creates a clean, professional look that makes entries easy to read. Third, spacing. The entire reference list is double spaced, just like the rest of your paper. No extra blank lines between entries, just consistent double spacing throughout. Now, let's look at how to format a book in your APA reference list. This is one of the most common types of sources you will cite, so it's important to get it right. The basic format at the top, you can see the basic structure. Author, comma, a period, the year between parentheses, a period, then title of the book in italics, then a period, then publisher, the a period. Let's break down each part. So, we have the author. You start with the author's last name, followed by initials, only the first initial and a middle initial if available, no full first names. Then year, in parentheses, the year of publication, then a period. Title. The title goes in italics. In APA style, you capitalize only the first word of the title, the first word of the subtitle after a colon, and any proper nouns. This is called sentence case. Then publisher. The publisher's name. You don't include words like Inc. or publishers, just the main name. Look at the example. Tapscott, comma, day, period, then 1997, growing up digital, the rise of the next generation, McGraw-Hill. Notice the author is Tapscott, comma, then D, the initial, then a period. So the last name, then initial. Then we have the year 1997, the publication, year between parentheses. Then the title, Growing Up Digital, the Rise of the Net Generation. Only the first word of the title and subtitle are capitalized. The whole title is italicized. Then the publisher, McGraw-Hill, just the name, no extra words. So APA uses this exact format so that readers can quickly identify the key information: who wrote it, when it was published, the full title, and who published it. Consistency across all your references makes your work look professional and helps your instructor verify your sources easily. If you are citing a book with multiple authors or a chapter in an edited book, the format changes slightly. But for a standard book with one author, this is the template you will use. Now let's look at how to cite a journal article in APA style. Journal articles are a staple of academic research, so you will use this format often. The basic format here is author, comma, a period, then comma, then ampersand, then the author, then comma, b, then period, b, period, then the year between parentheses, then period, then the title of article, then period, then the title of journal in italics, then comma, volume, issue, the volume in italics, the issue between parentheses, then comma, page numbers, then period, then the DOI or the URL. So let's go piece by piece. We have the authors. Like a book, you start with the author's last name followed by initials. For multiple authors, use an ampersand before the last author. Notice the example has three authors: Dewal, Smith, and Lisowski. Year, we have the publication year in parentheses followed by a period. Then the article title. This comes next. Article title is in plain text, now italicized, using sentence case. Capitalize only the first word and the first word after a colon and proper nouns. In the example, the ulterior motives of science reporting. Then journal title. This is in italics. You use title case here. Capitalize all major words in the example, Journal of Media Studies, in italics. Then we have volume, issue, and page numbers. After the journal title, you include the volume number in italics, then the issue number in parentheses, not italicized, and then followed by a comma and the page numbers. In the here in the example we have 15, then the volume 15, then the issue number between between parentheses, then the comma, then we have the page numbers 225, then 200 hyphen 240. That means the volume in italic, the issue 3, and the pages, you have to include a hyphen between pages. Then follow this with the DOI or the URL. You include it. You include digital objects identifier if the article has one, of course. And since the DOI are permanent identifiers for academic articles, If there is no DOI, you can include the URL from the journal's homepage or the database permalink. In APA 7th edition, you present the DOI as a clickable hyperlink as it shows here. https colon slashes doi dot org period org then slash then continue. So every element in this format serves a purpose. The author and your help readers quickly identify the source, the journal title, volume, and issue. Tell them exactly where to find the article in a library, database, or print um, collection. And the digital object identifier ensures they can locate it reliably online even if the web address changes. So if a journal article has up to 20 authors, you list them all in APA 7th uh, edition. And the example in this example shows 3, so just use the ampersand before the last. This is the ampersand. And the volume number is italicized. The issue number is not. Page numbers use a dash without spaces, of course, without spaces between them. Here, since it is a slide of PowerPoint, so it is difficult to include page number without a space. If you are citing an article from a library database and it has a digital object and identifier, always include the DOI. If it has no digital object identifier, treat it like a print article. No database URL is needed. Now, let's look at how to cite a web page in APA style. Websites are common sources, but citing them correctly can be tricky because the format is a bit different from books and journal articles. Let's break it down. Here we have the template or the basic format, which is the author, comma, A or the initials, then a period, then the date of publication, then period, then title of page document, then period, site name, then period, then retrieve, then month, day, comma, year, and comma, and from the URL. So let's work through each element. The author. Just like with books and articles, you start with the author's last name and initials. If the page has an individual author, you list them here. If no author is listed, you would move to the title of the author to the title to the author position. Then the date of publication. The APA wants the most specific date available. For a web page that may be just a year or a year and month or a full date. In the example here, we have 2020 June 25 or 25th. Then the title of page document. This is the title of the specific web page you are citing. It's italicized and uses sentence case. Only the first word and proper nouns capitalized. Then site name. This is the name of the overall website. It is not italicized. In the example, the site name is Discover the Word. Then retrieved month, date, comma, year, comma, from URL. Here is where web pages differ from other sources. In APA 7th edition, you typically include a retrieval date only when the content is likely to change over time, like a wiki or constantly updated news page. For stable pages, you would simply end with the URL. But the format on this example shows the retrieval date, which is acceptable if your instructor prefers it or if the source is dynamic. Look at the example Martin, Netherlands, period 2020, comma, June 25th, between parentheses, then period, the Netherlands Lights, colon, a beginner's guide, period, discovered the word, period, retrieved March, then till the end. So notice the author is Martin Netherland. In this example, the author's full name appears instead of last name and initials. In strict APA style, it should be Netherland, comma, M, period, comma. But the slide shows a common variation. Always check with your instructor about how to handle author's name or author names. Then the date, 2020, comma, June 25th. A full date is available. Then the title, the Northern Lights, a beginner's guide, italicized and sentence cased. Then cite the name, discovered word, plain text. Then we have retrieval date, retrieved March 7th, 2026. This indicates when you assessed the page. Then at the end we have the URL, which is the full web address. In APA 7th edition, retrieval dates are no longer required for most web pages. You usually just give the URL. However, some instructors still ask for them. Maybe I will ask you too during the exam and in writing this academic essay. And for sources that are frequently updated, like government statistics, dashboards, or Wikipedia, a retrieval date helps readers know which version you used. So always follow your assignment guidelines. Web pages don't have volume and issue numbers like journals, so APA gives us a way to provide the key details. Who wrote it, when it was published, the exact title, the website name, and how to find it again. Following this structure ensures your reader can locate the exact page you referenced. Sometimes you will come across a source that doesn't give you all the usual information. Maybe there is no author or no publication date, or the page seems like it might change over time. This slide shows you how to handle that situation and answers the common question, when do I need to include a retrieval date? So first, unknown author and unknown date. Look at the example at the top. Model statistics, Andy, then the URL. So notice two things. The author. There is no individual author. So the title of the page, Model Statistics, moves into the author position. Then the date is shown as ND, which stands for no date. You use this when the web page does not provide the publication or last updated date. So the title of the page is italicized and you end with the URL. No retrieval date is included unless the content is likely to change. Now look at the question. When do I need to include a retrieval date? In APA 7th edition, the rule is include a retrieval date only when the source is designed to change over time and there is no archived version. And the common examples include wikis like Wikipedia, live dashboards or data that updates frequently, social media profiles, or constantly updated news pages. For most pages, you do not include a retrieval date. Instead, you simply give the URL. If the source in your here in the example model statistics is a live statistics dashboard that updates regularly, you would include the retrieval date to let readers know which version you saw. In that case, the format would be Moodle statistics ND retrieved January 15, 2019 from and include the site. When a source has no author, you use the title in the author position. When it has no date, you use N period D period. You only add a retrieval date if the content is likely to change over time, otherwise just the URL is enough. Always check with your instructor, but these are the current APA 7 guidelines. Now let's look at what an APA reference list actually looks like. This image shows a correctly formatted reference page. I will walk you through the key features you need to replicate in your own paper. We have the title, References. At the top, you see the heading References. It's centered, bold, and uses title case, not works cited or bibliography. So in APA, it's always references. This page starts on a new sheet at the end of your essay. Then, alphabetical order. Look at the first entries here. A and G, H, G, 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 and S. So they are arranged alphabetically by the first author's last name. Notice how the entry starting with Abbasi, Abu Rubak, or Rukab, yes, comes before American Psychological Association. If a source has no author, so you would alphabetize by the title. Then the third point here we have hanging indent. Each entry uses a hanging indent. The first line is flush left. Every subsequent line is indented about half an inch. Here we have indentation not starting from the beginning or the first line. So this makes it easy for readers to scan down the list and find the author they are looking for. You can create this in Word or Microsoft Word using the paragraph setting. Then double spacing. Here we have double spacing. The entire reference list is double spaced. There are no extra blank lines between entries, just consistent double spacing throughout. This matches the rest of your APA paper. Different source types. So the image shows several types of sources. Let's look at a few examples. We have journal article. Abbasi Abu Rukab. This is this is a journal article. So in here, notice we have the author names, last name, initials, then the year in parentheses, the article title in sentence case, then the journal title in italics and title case, then the volume, then the issue in between here the volume in italics, then the issue in parentheses, then page numbers, then we have the DOI. Then book, Henderson. This is a book. So we have the author, the year, the book title in italics in sentence case, then the publisher. Then we have the case of, yes, this one. This is the edited book chapter. So this shows how to cite a chapter within an edited book. You list the chapter authors, then in, followed by the editors, the book title, and the page range. This is the way of citing edited book. Then web page report. So this is the case of web page or report. So here the author is an organization. You use the organization name as the author. The title is italicized and you include the URL. Then the case of the OIS and URLs. Notice that most entries end with the digital object identifier or URL. In APA 7th edition, they are formatted as clickable hyperlinks, starting with HTTPS, then till the end. So for sources without digital object identifier, you use the URL. This allows your reader to locate the source directly. Then multiple works by the same author, like this example of Jones and Jones. Look at here the two Jones entries. They are listed chronologically because they have the same first author, the earlier 2019, and comes before the later 2020. Here's a mistake. So APA arranges multiple works by the same author in order of publication year. So the reference list is not just a formality. It gives your reader a complete roadmap to every source you cited. Following these rules, alphabetical order, hanging indent, double spacing, and proper formatting for each source type makes your paper look professional and credible. So don't take this reference as a corrected version. Don't take it as into consideration as the correct version and following it, since there are some mistakes here, and just including this example to illustrate the way of writing or formatting reference in general.